This is the How'd You Do It podcast, and I'm your host, Lyle Wilkes. I believe that people have more to offer and knowledge to share than they ever give themselves credit for. So with that, my goal is to deep dive into the success stories of business owners, entrepreneurs, and community icons so they can share the road they traveled and what they learned along the way. Welcome to episode 4 of How'd You Do It podcast. I'm Lyle Wilkes, your host, and today we have the owner of Georgia Floors Direct, Jeff Mallinson, on. We just finished up the podcast, and I had an absolute blast. Jeff has years and years and years, longer than I've been alive, experience in the flooring industry. He's got a great story. He started off in the warehouse and now is owner of his own store. He was mentored by one of the greats in the industry and has a ton of knowledge. So I'm excited for you guys to hear this, and I know you're going to dig it. Well, Jeff, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. Yeah, that's great.
I'm happy to have you, man. And I just think you've got a great story, and that's really what this is about. So I just want to get into your story, how you built your flooring empire, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
And just the lessons you've learned along the way. So have you always been a Montgomery native?
I haven't. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, moved to Alabama at a very young age, to Monroe County. And I went to high school in Monroeville, and that's where I actually got started. I got married very young and needed to make money, and so I was working at Melton's Cabinets in Monroeville, Alabama, which they had a flooring department. So that's where I very first got my taste of flooring.
So you've been in flooring basically your entire life.
Yeah, since I was 18 years old.
That's awesome.
So I'm 50, so that's about, 32 years, 33 years?
So you probably know a thing or two about the flooring industry.
Yeah, and I know people like my former business partner, Dick McAdams, who's been in it 67 years, who's forgotten more than I ever knew. So that's humbling.
Yeah, I imagine so. So when did you, Monroeville for a while, when did you make the leap to Montgomery?
I actually got a job with the fire department in Montgomery. And again, young man, trying to find a career that provided for my family. And at the time, we had 2 children. And we moved to Montgomery, I think, in 1993. Yeah, so in 93, we moved to Montgomery. And taking the job at the fire department, you didn't get it right away. You had to live in Montgomery or near Montgomery. So my brother was working at GCO Carpet Outlet at the time, which I said, hey, I need a job. And he said, come on. And so I got a job as a warehouse guy working at GCO Carpet in Montgomery, where is over off of Atlanta Highway across from the Krispy Kreme donuts now. It's a Beauty and Beyond now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So how long did you stay at GCO? And what does GCO stand for, by the way?
Georgia Carpet Outlet.
Did Georgia Floors Direct come from that, or is it totally different companies?
It did. It was a morphing. It was a evolution, if you will.
Okay.
What it was is Dick McAdams, like I said, who's my former business partner. He's been in the flooring industry since 1958. And he was in the full service flooring industry for years and years. And he opened up Georgia Carpet Outlet, which was an outlet. We did no installation. It was just, matter of fact, our slogan was everything $3 to $13 a square yard. And he opened up the one store here and then opened up a store in Birmingham. And from there, he grew that to 12 company stores and 101 franchise stores. So it was a very large company. And I worked for them from 93. And then when my job came available for the fire department, I went and took my job for the fire department. Got my very first Montgomery fire and turned around and retired the next day and went and got my job back at the carpet store.
Started with flooring is like, this is where I'm going to be, right?
Yeah, it was a little too hot in the kitchen for me at the fire department, which I had great accolades to the fire department here in Montgomery. We have a wonderful fire department. They're an amazing group of people. Matter of fact, Chief Jordan, who is now the chief over the whole fire department, was Lieutenant Jordan at the time. And he was a Ooh,
Was he tough?
he was tough. He was tough, but great man, great man.
So the story is you left for the fire, but maybe,
Yep. Yep,
got it.
didn't want to get anybody hurt, so I came back, did a better job at flooring, and moved to sales. And from sales, I moved to assistant manager, and from assistant manager to co-owner with Dick McAdams in 2001.
What was the time stretch of that? Because you said you started off in the warehouse, right?
Yeah.
And so what was the time from warehouse to partner?
Warehouse to partner was 1993 to 2001, so 8 years.
That's
9 years.
That's a lot accomplished in a short amount of time.
And it's amazing over the last 20 years, because I bought him out in 2022, and the ability to be able to be under his tutelage, and he's like a second father to me. He's a wonderful man. Floor Covering Weekly, which is our New York Times, voted him as one of the top 25 most important people in the flooring industry in the last 50 years.
And you got the opportunity to work under him, and learn
Side
from
by
him.
side, and get chewed out by him, and get loved on by him. But he's he's a wonderful man, an amazing business mind, and just really showed me a lot of love and grace, and taught me.
When starting off in the warehouse, did you just always have a natural progression to achieve or go to the next step?
I think one thing that I always had was a work ethic.
Yeah.
And I worked hard. I tried to get there before everybody else and stay longer and work harder. And I think that was something that came from my mother and father. They were always very hard workers. They had a really great work ethic, and they would always, make me work and for my benefit.
Were they entrepreneurs as well?
My dad was an airline pilot. He flew a private corporate jet, and my mother was a realtor.
Oh, okay.
And she, matter of fact, her career was a really beautiful real estate career. And she was broker here in Montgomery for a while for Sherry Weeks, ERA Weeks, and Browning. But
Awesome.
yeah, my mother was one of the most positive people I know. She always, I'd get up and want to stay home from school, and she'd come in. She said, "Today is the first day of the rest of your life. If it is to be, it's up to me." And I mean, for a long time, I really couldn't stand that. It was like, oh gosh, she's so positive, it's killing me.
Yeah.
But it rubbed off, and I really took that to heart.
Yeah, it's funny, and I haven't been on this earth that long, but as I grow older, it's like the things that I couldn't really stand from my parents. It's like, thank God I got that, right?
Good parents, and I realize there's a lot of people that don't have parents that do for them and love on them like that. But I was so blessed to have the parents that I had, and my dad passed in 2015, and that was a hard pill to swallow. And as we speak, my mother's battling stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, and
Sorry to hear that.
I don't know if she'll make the end of this year. But the good news is I know where she's going
For sure.
when she leaves here, and she's an amazing, wonderful Christian woman, and I just
That's a good place to be. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
And I
no
imagine
doubt.
she's left quite the legacy.
my goodness, it's
Yeah.
it's just an amazing person, amazing friend, aunt, sister, daughter, mom, employee, employer,
Yeah.
investor. I mean, she's just she's a true Proverbs. When you listen to the Proverbs lady in the Proverbs wife in the Bible, she was that lady who did all those things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So going from back to the warehouse, right? Back to the warehouse to sales. What was that transition like, especially, and how old were you when you made the transition into sales?
I was 19, and the company that Dick set up was it hired from within,
Yeah.
and that was a great thing. So when you came on and you worked hard, you saw the ability. Hey, I'm not going to be stuck in this position. I have the ability to move into another position. And I had a lot of, Sammy McGinney, who now works at Gardner Carpet. He was a person who was very influential in my career. Rick Stevens, who was my boss, and he actually now works for me. He was very influential in my life. Chip Mullins, he was the manager over all the company stores, and he actually now works for me. Steve Schroeder, who was also another one of my superiors, and also my very dearest best friend in the world, now works for me. And I shouldn't say works for me; they work with me because we all have a common goal, and they are so vitally important to what we do. But I had a lot of people who really, showed me the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it.
What is the right way to do sales?
I think really have a true desire to relate to that customer, what their budget is, what they're looking for. Dick McAdams, again, I'll refer to him several times for this, but he said, our industry is the service industry, and people have forgotten the service part of it.
Yeah.
And when you can, my particular platform is flooring. And when somebody's investing, anywhere from a couple $100s in a bedroom of carpet all the way up to 20, 30, 40, $50,000 in a home,
Yeah.
or, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a business, if we don't treat that like it's important to us, how are they going to feel? And so, and that's one thing, all of my guys, people ask me a lot of times, how did you get the people? You have such high caliber people working for you. And it's truly, and this is going to sound cliche, but it's so very true. I spent a lot of time in prayer, kissed a lot of frogs.
Yeah.
And the guys we have at the store, and I'm going to name them off individually: Matt McElroy, Jonathan Hibbert, who's my store manager, Rick Stevens, who I mentioned earlier, Dustin Davenport, Q, Javarius Williams, Evan Milam, Chip Mullins, Steve Schroeder, Lisa Stovall, who works in our accounting department, my wife, Timmy, who works in our accounting department, my son, Austin, who's an 8-year veteran of the Coast Guard. He manages my operations back in the back and does an amazing job. We've just got some new guys back there, Trey and RG. They're great. Our installers, Art, and he's got a whole crew of guys. Don Davenport, my advertising agent. And I'd even like to thank my banker, my attorney, and my CPA. But
it takes a village,
it
right?
takes a village. You can't do it by yourself. And we've been when I was actually buying the company from Dick, my banker asked me. He said, you guys have shown amazing increases, not for just 1 or 2 years, but for the last 20 years. He said, for the last 20 years, you guys are increasing every year. And every year we have a plan. In October, I'm setting up budgets and advertising budgets and sales budgets and looking at where we want to go, why we want to go there, and how we plan to get there.
Yeah.
And so it's, one of the biggest challenges I had was for years, I was 70% of the sales floor. I did 70% of the sales. And so as we progressed, I had to spend more time managing the business, running the business, and I couldn't sell. And that just really got to me. So for me, if you were to come in and say, hey, Jeff, I need a house full of flooring, it really was a pain for me to hand it to somebody else and say, hey, you take care of Mr. Wilkes and get him taken care of.
Yeah.
But learning to do that was also one of the best things.
Why was it tough for you? Just did you feel like, was it like kind of you wanted to take care of it, or felt like they, you wanted to make sure they were taken care of?
Donald Trump, art of the deal. I wanted to close the sale. I wanted to take care of the customer.
Got it.
I felt like I could do it better than anybody else. I was going to work harder for that customer. I was going to answer the phone earlier and later, and I was going to be on this job site. And that's where these guys all are so valuable as partners in this business, is because they do it better than I do now. And for me to stand back, and I literally told one of my decorators the other day, I said, I'm going to set you up with Dustin. And she kind of had this look like, are you pushing me off on somebody else? And I assured her, I said, trust me, he does it better than I do.
Yeah.
And and I've even had a decorator tell you, oh, I don't need you anymore. And that's a great compliment.
I was about to say, it's got to make you feel good.
It does, because these guys are, I've told them we have sales meetings, or not just sales meetings, but meetings in general twice a month. And I've told them, I said, if I could search the world over for my team, I wouldn't have to search. I've got it.
Yeah.
And again, that's come through a lot of prayer and kissing a lot of frogs. We've
Yeah.
had some doozies in there.
Yeah. So what's the story behind going from in sales to manager and then to partner?
Well, it was, just I've always had a desire to be successful.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody's hope and dream that
Sure.
that they want to be successful. And I read a lot of books. I read a lot of Jim Rohn, Andy Andrews, and you have to ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Why do I want to go there? And then after you ask why and you answer that question, how am I going to go there? And so whenever, and even now in the position I'm in, I don't just want to stay where I am. I have, visions. I've started a real estate investment company that we do flips and rentals.
Yeah.
And then I do a TV show here in Montgomery, Good Morning Montgomery.
Yeah.
And I have, each one of those, I have vision for those. And being able to make money is nice, but I think the bigger than that, I have a desire to leave a legacy for my family and for the people, with Dick. Dick left a legacy for me, and I have a real desire in my heart for everybody to look, wow, when he took that company over, it continued to fly. And so it's just that desire to succeed and do well with what God gave you.
Yeah.
God is, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I really feel like he's been so gracious to me and blessed me so much. And I want to just, I don't want to hide my talents. I want to grow those talents in his name. So,
Yeah. That's awesome. It's funny. You talk about a legacy. I I guess I did a lot of why, and like even early on in high school. And my high school yearbook quote is, what was it? When I die, I'd rather people not ask why I have a monument, but why I don't have one. And to me, that
Yeah.
speaks, of your services and your good.
Exactly.
And so even through, the small successes that I've had, like I've realized that money is just the tool to get you there.
That's
And
right.
like you get so much more out of pouring into people and things.
Well, and I had somebody call into the show the other day, and Joe Hagler, who's a wonderful guy, he said, "Oh, this guy right here is a self-made man."
Yeah.
And I very quickly corrected him. I said, "I am not I don't believe in self-made men, because there's too many people." Don Davenport, for instance, Don has been in the flooring industry. Oh my gosh, he goes all the way back to, I believe it was New York Carpet World. He's a native of Illinois, and he came down here to work for Dick McAdams, and ended up opening his own advertising agents, Davenport Moorhead, and did all the advertising for Georgia Floors Direct. Had some really big accounts, but over the last 22 years, I've known him for over 30 years, but for the last 22 years, he and I have gotten the opportunity to work really close together. And again, that's just one example of an amazing man. And his son Dustin works for us, and you can see his legacy in his children, because
Yeah.
his children are all amazing. Daniel, Dave, and Dustin are amazing young men, and well, not so young anymore. Dustin's right behind me. But Don has just been a wonderful friend and mentor to me. The kind of friend that will tell you, "Hey, you messed up."
Yeah. You need those people
Yeah,
too.
and that's the thing. I've got a young man working for me, Q Javarius Williams, and I mean, his caliber is so far above, and I saw that, and I started pulling him in. And he came to me one day and he's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you about a personal issue I'm having." And I'm like, "Okay, what you got?" And he's like, "I've got friends that are getting mad at me because I'm not going and hanging out like I used to and doing the things I used to." I said, "Q," I said, "as you progress in life, your circle is not supposed to grow. Your circle is supposed to tighten." And that's not saying you can't be friends with those people. You can't, not saying you don't need to talk to them, but those may not be the people you're hanging out with. If you want to be a millionaire, you don't hang out with broke people.
No.
If you want to be well, you don't hang out with sick people. If so those are the things I told him. And that's what I've seen in my life is my circle has shrunk. I've got a core group of men that have mentored me and just been there for me and been the ones that said, "Hey, you missed it here. You
Yeah.
messed up. Now let's correct it. Let's get back on track." So those are vital.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like to hear that. A lot of people
No,
don't like to hear that they've not done it right.
and what I've struggled with too is that like those are your friends, you love them,
Yeah.
right? And you want to bring them with you,
Yeah.
but if you don't have the same vision and goals, you kind of got to leave them behind. It becomes a weight almost.
There's a sermon on YouTube from T.D. Jakes, and I love T.D. Jakes, but it's called Your Confidants. And you have constituents, I forget what all of them are, but basically you have people who are going to pass through your life. If you live to be 100 years old, you're going to have people from birth to 100 that are going to pass through your life. Some of those people are just going to be at the same place at the same time. Some people you go to school to, you'll never talk to again. Some people are going to be around you because you work with them. They're doing the same thing you're doing. Some people want something from you, so they're going to get close to you. And then there are some people that God placed in your life as divine appointment. People that, and I think about that now when I meet people, I don't just think, oh, hey, nice to meet you, have a great day. I think, is that going to be somebody that when they pass or I pass, we're going to be sobbing at each other's funeral saying, I miss that person. And, when I met Dick McAdams the first time in 1993, my first thought as a young guy is, oh, that's just a rich man who owns everything. He don't think a thing in the world about me. Not thinking that he would become one of the most instrumental people in my life. Same thing with Rick and Steve and Chip and Sammy and Mr. McAdams and Don Davenport. Those people were instrumental in my life in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah, yeah. It's great to have good people behind you, and I feel like it just helps so much with your success. And going back to what you said, it's interesting. I've never thought about it that way. It's like no one's self-made because you're 100% right.
Oh, yeah.
You have influence from everyone, and who is around you is who's influencing you.
Anybody who's arrogant enough to say that they're a self-made man, the fall's not very far away.
Yeah,
And there are things that God gave us, but if you think about it, God didn't give us those gifts to promote ourselves. He gave us those gifts to help others. And I've always seen people reach up or reach down rather and give me their hand and help me up. And so when I have an opportunity to reach down and get somebody's hand, say, hey, come on up, because I know at some point I may need to get some help from that person. And it's a lovely thing.
yeah, that's awesome. So, how was the role going into like managing people? Was that a big shift for you?
It actually was something I was doing before I even became a manager. And I think that's what you find management qualities in people. And managing is not being the boss. It's not getting to say, hey, look at my title, I'm the boss. It's taking responsibility and stepping up and help others do what needs to be done for the common goal. And before I even became the manager, I had to learn, because coming in at my age, I was a lot younger than most of the people that I was working with and working for.
Yeah.
A lot younger.
How was that?
For a while, I kind of felt like I had to earn my salt, and I did. But at the same time, I got to a point to where there were ideas that I had and things that I was doing that were better ideas and better things than the other people were doing. And it took courage. I had to step up and say, hey, I'm younger, but I know this is right. So I'm going to do this, regardless of who laughs at me, regardless of who says, hey, you're just a kid, sit down. And doing that, I think people will respect you for that.
Yeah. And there's you can't argue with results, and
Yeah,
show
exactly.
don't tell, right?
Yeah. We had when we had the 12 company stores and the 101, I think it was, franchise store. The competition was so great because we kept up. And when I went into sales, from the time I went into sales, I was in the top 3 in sales for the company out of 113 stores. And we had the old Oki data paper that would, feed out with the green and white lines, and we would look for our initials. And, everybody said, "Oh, you're just doing so well because you're at the main store." And, but I remember a little old lady came in one time, and this just goes back to the customer service. Her name was Mrs. Goyer. And she came in the store and she said, "Honey, I just need a little bit of glue." She says, "I got a little step that's flipping up, and if I could get a teaspoon of glue, that'd be enough." And I took the time, and her and I talked. And when I finished, one of the sales guys said, "You run your mouth too much. They don't care. They don't want to spend all that. They don't want to know about you." But her and I really developed a wonderful rapport. Well, the following week, she came back with her daughter. She says, "I own about 30 rental properties, and I want you to do my rental properties." She says, "Nobody's ever taken that kind of time with me before." And beyond that, she became a really good friend of mine. And I remember at the end of her life, I actually sent her flowers. And I still have a card in my desk drawer. I sent her flowers one day. She had gone into like one of those little places where you have to rehabilitate.
Sure.
And she sent me a card back, and she said, "You sent me flowers on a day that I was low as a caterpillar." Yeah. And she said it really brightened my day. So again, you never know when you're paying attention what kind of relationships God might be just running right in front of you. And if you're too busy and too self-absorbed, you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
And that would be I'm tell you what.
That'd be a shame, right?
The relationships I could have missed. I'm so thankful that I stopped and paid attention.
Do you think you always had a knack, do you think you always valued relationships or knew the importance of relationships, or did you have to learn that?
I think especially my dad. My dad was one who always taught me, about burning bridges that you might have to cross again. He always taught me if I ever left a job to leave on good terms, leave it better than I left it. And I can honestly say, I don't believe I've ever left a job that I didn't leave on good terms and felt well about them.
Yeah.
So, relationships are super important, and it's a lot more than just business. It's business is personal.
It really is, right?
I hear people say, "Oh, it's just business." Well, business is personal. I mean, when you're trusting somebody to do something for you, you want to trust that person, and I always enjoy talking to that person and getting to know that person and liking the people I deal with.
Yeah. Did sales just come naturally for you then?
My ninth grade social studies teacher told me that I was either going to be a politician, a lawyer, or a salesman. So yeah,
They were right. Yeah.
yeah, I think it came natural. I've always loved people. I'm a people person, and just love to respect different people that don't look like me, different cultures, people that come from different backgrounds, from different parts of the world. And it's like the ice cream aisle. There's strawberry, there's cherry, there's birthday cake, chocolate, vanilla, and I feel like a little bit of all of it. So
yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to do this podcast, because I can relate to that so much, because I'm generally just inquisitive about people. I want to know their story. I want to know what they're about, where they're from, what they do.
Have you been to New York?
I have not been to New York.
You've got to go to New York. My wife and I, we've been to New York several times, and took my son up there. We'll reveal a little bit more about me here. I took my son up in September. We went to see Metallica in New Jersey, and we spent the weekend in New York. And me in New York, it's hilarious for somebody to watch, because I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" People are trying to get their
nobody
stuff.
pays attention.
I find somebody to talk to, and it's great, because when you start talking to people, you find out that you think about yourself. You are one small portion. You had an upbringing that is very different from billions of other people. So you have different thought processes. You have different ideas, different ways of solving problems, different ways of approaching things. And other people have completely different views than you. And, while you may not agree with all of them, you definitely can have a lot of respect. And I think that's part of the problem that's wrong in our country. People have no respect for each other
Yeah.
anymore. There's no respect for somebody who doesn't think exactly the way you think. If they have any difference of view, it's looked at almost as if they're a demon.
Yeah. And I think you can learn so much from other people because
Yeah.
I've been to other countries and things like that, and learning about their culture and how they interact and what their priorities are versus what you think is a priority.
Right.
That may shift, and that may, bless your life in so many other
You're
ways.
right.
Yeah.
And that's not only, learning from somebody is not only learning the right things to do, you can learn a lot of what
Yes.
not to do from people.
Yeah.
You can look at, and, I've had people tell me before, hey, don't do this. I did that. And sometimes you don't listen, and you have to learn that lesson yourself. But we can learn a lot from each other. And, I think the old adage, a house divided cannot stand. And if we're
Sure.
separated and not talking to each other, I think we're a lot more vulnerable than if we were together and saw each other and listened to each other and respected each other.
I'm sure you put that into your company too. Is that, as far as
Yeah,
communication?
yeah, that's I've told, I've laid down the law pretty much that we're not going to have backbiting. And matter of fact, that's another great thing about my guys is we spend time outside of work together. We go up every year to Clayton, Georgia, Rayburn County, Georgia. We go whitewater rafting. We go camping. We go to Braves games together. We go to Biscuits games together. We go to, events throughout Montgomery, Central Alabama together. We love spending time together. And that's because we have built a culture in our store that, we're family. We're going to spend more time together than we get to spend with our family some days.
Yeah.
And you better like the people you're working with. You better have a real good respect and a good appreciation for who they are.
How do you make sure that the culture of, that family culture stays intact? Is there any things that you do that attributes to that?
Hire the right people, put the right people in the right place. And that's another thing I learned at a young age is when you do something, don't set yourself up for failure, set yourself up for success. If you know you're good at something, do that. If you know you're not good at something, don't do that. And when I bring somebody in, I'm going to set somebody up who can succeed in the role that I've put in front of them, and not only succeed but excel. And if like I said, we've had some people that weren't us.
Yeah.
And we had, matter of fact, I give a little shout out to Wade Hampton, who works at Carroll's Carpet. He fits in with us like those pegs at Cracker Barrel. I mean, but he's worked at Carroll's for years and years, and he left for a while and came over to us, and he just ended up going back. It's not that he didn't fit with us; it's just that was his home.
Yeah.
But and that's another thing. I have a great respect for all my other flooring partners in Montgomery. I'm good friends with Drew Corson, who owns Carroll's Carpet, and all the folks down. I stop in regular and just say hello to them. Bobby and Robert Gardner, they're dear friends of mine. Charlie over at H&H, the Bowles up in Prattville,
Yeah.
Dennis over in Millbrook. We're in the same industry, and we have a lot of respect for each other. And so I'm very thankful for those guys too, and the business they run.
And I think a lot of people miss out on that collaboration, right? And they only look at the competition. One of my favorite quotes is, "The rising tide brings in all the ships." Right?
I love it. Rising tides raises all boats.
That's it. And I think people miss out so much on the collaboration, how we can work together versus competition. Right?
My life has only been blessed from all those companies I just named, and again, if I had looked at them as, oh, that's competition, I remember going to an owners conference in Colorado one time, and we were doing one of the after hour things, and everybody was talking about, oh, I hate the people they're cutthroat, they're this, they're that, and I was being really quiet, so everybody obviously started looking at me, well, what about your competition? I'm like, I just got finished sending everybody Christmas cards.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
saying, hey, we appreciate you guys, love y'all. They come when we have an event at our store, they all show up. If I need advice on something, I call Robert Gardner pretty regular and just say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? and they do the same. But I've gained so much from those relationships because I didn't look at them as the mortal enemy.
Yeah. And I think people get it wrong with the competition because to me, if you view somebody as a competition, right, that means that they have more control on your outcome
Yeah.
than you do. And I feel like it's only up to us, right? It's not up
Well,
to other people.
I remember one of my sales guys in one of the sales meetings. He was sitting there saying one day, he's like, "Oh, well, Carroll's does this, and and Gardner does this, and Home Depot does this." And I finally said, "I don't care what anybody does. They run their business the way they run their business. We're going to run it the way we run it,
That's it.
and have great respect for them. But you know, you got to do what you got to do. You got to look at what your model is, what your mission statement is, what you want to achieve, and we enjoy doing it every day we get an opportunity to.
Yeah. Speaking of opportunity, I think competition brings opportunity too.
Absolutely, especially good competition because there's I had a lady come in one time and we ended up losing a sale. I think it was to Gardner's, and she says, "Do you know much about them?" I said, "Wonderful people." I said, "You will be very pleased. They're amazing people. They do amazing work, and I know you won't be dissatisfied." And she looked at me like a cow at a new gate.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say a cow. She wasn't big. I didn't mean it like that. But like she looked at
Yeah.
me like a
Yeah.
deer in a headlight.
We're in the South. We
Yeah,
got
yeah,
expressions, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So she looked at me like, "That's your competition." I'm like, "They're also my friends."
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's again respect thing.
Yeah, for sure. So moving into becoming partner, how did all that work out and how did it come about?
Well, again, just at the time, I think Dick McAdams sold the entire company to Maxim Group, Carpet One, in 1996, and pieced it off. And Bobby Gardner actually bought the store, and McAdams' commercial division was still behind our store. That's now what we occupy. And Dick would come up and talk with us. "Hey, how's everything going?" And we just, share with him our numbers, what we were doing. And he came to me one day and he said, "Hey, look," he says, "I want to get back into this. I'm talking with Bobby about buying the store. But I'm not going to work." He said, so he allowed me to come in as a sweat equity partner. Again, talking about people who really give you the opportunity. He could have said, "Hey, I want you to pay this much
Yeah.
and you can be partner." But he didn't. He gave me an opportunity, and I'm forever grateful for him. But that's where it started, and we just moved from there. And
When you got that opportunity, was there any fear or, as far as taking over and becoming partner? What was,
I think
what were you
there's,
thinking?
yeah, I think there's always fear. And I listen to a lot of UFC. I'm a UFC guy. I like UFC. Like to watch them bang it out in the
Yeah.
ring. And but Forrest Griffin, who's probably one of my favorite fighters, he said he's got butterflies and he's scared before every single fight. And for somebody to hear that Forrest Griffin is scared of anything, I feel like he could beat up a freight train.
Yeah.
It is, but that fear is healthy, and I think that fear will keep you honest. That fear will keep you on your toes. That fear will keep you, getting there earlier, looking at things closer. And that, so yeah, there was, and still to this day, I mean, I look at, I've done very well this year, but I'm
Yeah.
looking for December to smack me in the face,
Yes.
But you've got to look at it like that, and you've got to be prepared for what's around the corner, and not just be prepared for, but the way you're prepared for what's around the corner is you plan for it. And I know right now what my power bill is going to be in June of next year. And if it's too far off of that, I'll know something's not right.
Yeah.
I've studied it for 22 years. And I know what increase of business I want to get. I know where I want to get it from. I know what advertising I'm going to increase for that. And I know where I'm going to increase that advertising. Of course, that's where relationships like Don Davenport come in, because I can give him a budget and say, this is what we're wanting to do. And he can really zero in on that. And it's amazing what people can do with advertising now.
Yeah. Have you always been very good about keeping track of the numbers within the business, or did you or let me back that up. When you were in sales, did you keep track of your numbers?
Yes.
You did?
I
Okay.
knew, I mean, I remember one time, I was short on my budget. And back then, a $10,000 sale was unheard of. I mean, we were just selling carpet. We weren't selling the installation. We weren't selling hardwood. And I just remember I was $10,000 short on my budget. And I went in and I go to a full gospel church and we believe in laying hands on stuff. And so I went in and laid hands on all the carpet and prayed over the whole store and just asked God to be a blessing. And I knew, you know, I'm going to serve him if I win. I'm going to serve him if I lose. But a guy came from Selma that day who was a builder over there and bought $10,000 worth of carpet and pad and took it with him. And so, but, you know, I knew exactly where I was with my budget. And I do that with my guys. You know, I meet with my guys. In October of this year, I had their budget for next year. I have it broken down to the ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, I give them, here's your year budget. Here's your monthly budget. Every person works on average 22.1 days a month. Here's your daily amount written and delivered. So I break it down where, you know, they know exactly what they need to do and where they need to be. And then I talk to them about how are you going to do that? What are your plans? You know, because I do believe, you know, God said he'd bless what we put our hands to, not what we put our behind to. And if I just sit there and wait for something to happen, and I think that's with a lot of people. I think a lot of people want to complain, oh, this hasn't happened for me and that hasn't happened for me. And they can look at people who have been successful. Oh, they're so lucky. You know, that just, you know,
They don't see the mountains
no,
of work behind it. They don't
they,
see all
they
the effort in the early mornings and
no,
late nights.
and they won't, they can't. And it's just the way they're structured. And so, you know, it's like, I know every aspect. And again, Dick McAdams was a huge part of that because when I came on partner, he taught me how to do it. And then he said, this is your business. You make the decision. And I mean, there were times that I needed him to help me make the decision and he wouldn't do it. He says, you know, you need to make this decision. I've given you what you need. I remember in 2008 when the housing bubble busted, I went to him and I'm looking at numbers like usually I look at numbers every day. I was looking at them every hour.
Yeah.
And so I had my hand, you know, on the economy, what was going on, talking to, again, that's another great thing about talking with the other dealers in town is you can find out, hey, how you guys doing? And usually it's the same thing. You know, we're a little slow this month or it's really picked up. We're off the chain. But I came to him, I said, Dick, this is bad. You know, it's really tough. And he's like, well, he said, son, I've been doing this since 1958. I've seen it worse than this. It will be fine. Great. That gave me an amazing amount of confidence. I said, Dick McAdams said it was great. That's as good as Jesus saying it to me.
No kidding.
So, you know, another 6 months rolled by and I came to him and said, you know, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Same thing. I've seen it worse. It'll get better. Talk to me about late 70s when the interest rates were 21%.
Yeah.
And so 3 months went by and I came back to him and I said, this is bad. What are we going to do? He said, I don't know, son. I've never seen this bad. I don't know what we're going to do.
Who'd you look to then?
I looked straight up.
Yeah.
No, but then he told me, he said, look, he said, here's the deal. We're either going to learn to function in this economy or we're going to close the sign and we're going to go out of business. Up to you. And so, you know, you have to make plans because I've gone back since the turn of the century, 1900s, and about every 14 to 20 something years, you have an economy that just tanks, a war,
Sure.
whatever. And you have to prepare. You have to prepare for those times that are going to be, and you have to run your business accordingly. One of our things that we do that make us special is how we buy. You know, we don't, if you came in and needed a box of flooring, we can order a box of flooring, but most of the time we order containers. We don't order boxes or pallets or multi-pallets or even truckloads. We order containers. When I order rolls of carpet, I order hundreds of rolls of carpet at a time. You get a better deal. You can give the customer a better deal. You can make a little more money. And you always take care of those customers. So when those relationships
Yes.
are remembered, when the economy turns down, they're not bringing their business to you. They're still taking care of you by patronizing your business.
Yeah. During the 2000, the bubble, 2008, the
Yeah.
housing crisis, or what were some of the things you learned through that time?
Preparedness,
Yeah.
just to have you know, those days were somewhat before. Those were my crash pad days. That's before I knew what cash flow meant. For anybody out there, that's a Jimmy Buffett line in a song. But it's you have to make sure you have good cash flow because when that economy cranks down, you want to have good inventory turns. You want to have good cash flow. You want to have control of your business. And I think so many people are not in control of their business. They're 1 month away from going out of business because their cash flow is out of control, their inventory is out of control, their employees are out of control. And I used to look at a business as a flat sheet of paper. If you had good sales, it was an amazing business. But now I look at a business as not even a Rubik's Cube, but an octacube. There's so many different sides. You have receivables, you have payables, you have inventory, you have cash flow, you have customer count, you have demographics, you have, all these little bitty things that determine how your business
Yeah.
is going to do. And when somebody goes, to buy a business, they look at those things. They look, what are your receivables like? What are your payables like? What does your cash flow look like? How quick are you turning this inventory? And that's whether you're in housing or cars or flooring or electronics or whatever. It's the same thing. It has the same aspect that goes to it. As a matter of fact, I wish more of our politicians ran our country like a business instead of a piggy bank.
Sure. You mean to tell me you can't just print more floors or print more customers? Yeah.
I would say it would be nice, but I've seen what doing that does. So yeah,
Yeah.
but I love the idea of a businessman in politics because he wants to look at the bottom line.
Yeah.
He wants to look at the expenses, and historic numbers do not lie. If you look at the numbers, and that's another thing I love about Dick McAdams. He says, well, you told me this, now show me that.
Yeah.
And so when you pull the numbers and you look at the historical, and this is
Numbers don't have feelings.
they don't,
Yeah.
and your feelings are not important to them. And it's 2023 with all of the computer software programs we have out there. You can get the most amazing numbers. I know in my store who likes to sell hardwood floors and who likes to sell luxury vinyl plank. I'll know who loves to sell expensive carpet and who loves to sell the best pad because
Yeah.
their numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And then I'll have them talk to the other. How do you do this? Like you're doing now. I'm like, Dustin Davenport. He sells wood floors. He loves to sell wood floors and he's good at it.
Yeah.
And Dustin, how do you do that? What do you do? And that's where I take them first. This
Yeah.
is, and so just knowing those things and knowing your business, knowing the heartbeat of your business and that's another thing for older people that's kind of difficult is keeping up with the technology, how to change your advertising, how to change your business model with computers and if you use them. I remember Terry Wheat. Terry Wheat was the owner of RFMS, who is probably 90% of the people in the flooring business across the world use RFMS software. He developed it in 1983. And again, another amazing relationship that I have that I pick up and call his cell phone and he answers, "Hey, Jeff, how you doing?" And I get to talk with him for an hour. And he told me, he said, "Jeff," he says, "you have a Corvette, but you're driving it like a Chevette." And to learn that there were so many things that computer system could do that we were not taking
Utilizing.
full
Yeah.
advantage of. And so that's one thing we're always trying to better ourselves. And again, that makes it more cost efficient. It ultimately goes back to cost efficiency for the customer because if you're not being wise, if you're not doing all those things, that comes back to wasted time, wasted inventory, wasted manpower, and the prices are just going to go up.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think also with just people in general, like technology makes things so easy but but it also makes you lazy in the same
Yeah.
process, right?
Well, I get mad sometimes because my phone won't like send a text quick enough, or Siri doesn't hear what I'm saying. And so, I think I'm at a really, I'm 50 years old, and I think a lot of people that are older than me are scared of technology. And then I think a lot of people younger than me don't know the way it used to be done. And so I have a great appreciation because when I came into it, we didn't even have cell phones. I mean, I remember Cellular One was right next door to us, and it was all bag phones. You had a
Yeah.
bag phone in your car.
I remember my
And
grandpa driving around mounted on the trucks,
yeah,
or on the floorboard of the truck.
exactly,
Yeah.
like right there.
Yeah.
And but I just think about how much technology has allowed us to do more. And I'm even we have a little different business model than most of the flooring stores out there, but my measure man has a tablet that he can take, and he can do all the takeoffs and everything on that tablet, and then turn around and email it to the salesperson. So the salesperson gets it immediately, turns around, and I mean, we've got customers like, how did you get me that quick? I was thinking it was going to be next week,
Yeah.
and you got it to me within hours.
That's awesome. Speaking of like your business model, you don't just sell the product, but you also do installations.
We do.
And so I think that's a big differentiator. And almost, how do you control that? Do you run it as two separate businesses, or do they feed off of each other?
Excuse me. That's one of the things that, again, going back to the RFMS is great because it integrates point of sale, inventory, and accounting all together. A lot of companies run their store off of QuickBooks, which inventory is separate, point of sale is separate, accounting is separate. All of ours is integrated. As far as installation, we run it as a total. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
So and I think we probably install more than 70% of our jobs. And a lot of times there's people think that, oh, I'm going to pay more if I get them to install it. Well, not only are you not going to pay more, but you're going to get a better job. These guys, this is what they do. They know what they're looking at. When they run into an anomaly in your home, they've seen it before.
Yeah.
They've run into it. They know how to correct it. They know how to fix it. So it's all one. And we for a long time we didn't install.
I was going to ask you, when did you decide that that was a need or a service you wanted to bring in?
It was probably, again, part of our planning of what we needed to do to be successful. I had been brought up in the business of, we were cash and carry. We sold the product, and then we got an installer for you, and that installer came and picked it up and installed it. We saw the need as we tried to become, again, going after more of the concerns and desires of our customer. Our customers, they didn't want to deal with another person. They didn't want to deal with another installer. They wanted to go one place. They wanted to deal with one person. They wanted to write one check.
So the
And
problem is that they probably got great service from you, but not such a great experience from the installer, and just the complexity of the, yeah,
they just felt like, hey, I don't just there's too many steps.
yeah,
And again, we're a society now that wants fewer steps.
yeah,
We want it to be quick. We want it to be easy. And I feel like we've got a great, great plan. We've been installing, I think, since 2010. We have probably, and we probably pay our installers a little more. We don't charge the customer more, but we pay them a little more. We want them to be a little slower. We
yeah.
want them to be a little more methodical. And we do. Art and his crew, they're really wonderful. They do great work.
That's awesome. Has there been any challenges bringing in that service?
Yeah, there. And again, we went through trying to find the right guy.
Yeah,
And we had one guy who he did really great work. He's actually since passed away, but he'd gotten older, and he just could not handle the workload that we were putting out. And so one of our obstacles were right now where somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm buying floors today, and we're saying, hey, we can get them installed for you next week. We found ourselves, we're 3-4 weeks out sometimes on installation.
Good problem to have.
Good problem to have, but a lot of people are like, I can't wait that long. So
Yeah.
being able to,
Let me get you some water.
no, I'm good. I'm
Okay.
too many cigars.
Ah, here you go.
The thing we ran into now is customers coming in and being able to make sure we can get it done quickly, but I don't want my guys to get moving too quickly. We still want them to take their time, and we have checklists for every aspect of the business, including the installation. And I think that we have a measure man that goes out and does all the measuring. It makes our salespeople more efficient because they can slow down. Because some of these jobs, I mean, literally, we used to, when we sold something, we had 2 lines, carpet and pad.
Okay.
Now we can literally have 30, 40 lines on one job. You've got, you may have carpet and hardwood. And with the hardwood, you're going to have adhesive, you're going to have moldings, you're going to have quarter round, you're going to have floor patch, you're going to have, the carpet, the pad, the Z-bar, the tack strips, all these little bitty items. And then you have all the different labor lines, like you've got in a staircase, 12 regular steps, and then you have 3 tailored steps that are going to be tailored. So it's just, you really have to slow down, and you have to make sure that when we have the buddy system, everybody else, hey, when you have a big job, let somebody else look at it and make sure you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
I remember one that I did, and it was a big job of hardwood, and I forgot to put glue on the order. And when we got to send it out, the customer called and said, well, what do I owe you for the glue? I said, you don't owe me anything for the glue. That's on me.
Okay.
Now, that was an expensive glue
Yeah.
sandwich.
Yeah.
But we make mistakes, and that's another thing where we try not to make mistakes. There's no such thing as a company that doesn't make mistakes, but to find a company that's going to stand behind what they do, and to where they did make a mistake, they're going to correct it.
And I think that's what people really look for. They don't. I think business owners has this unreal expectation, like we can't make a mistake.
Right.
And I think everyone has a general feeling of like it's okay to make a mistake. Just fix it. Just own
Yeah,
up to
and
it.
that's the thing. People want to deal with a company that they trust. When they come in, they don't just want to have a slick, quick talking salesperson that can get their credit card. They want to know this person. They want to trust this person. They want to walk away feeling like, you know what, I just made a good investment for my home. And to have that knowledge that they're going to do it right. And if we miss something, they're going to make it right. And that's always what we've tried to do.
I think you only do that by building relationships.
That's what this business is. It's a relationship business. Relationship with the installer, relationship with your people, relationship with the customer, even relationships with the vendors. That's a great thing. Is I have great relationships with the vendors, and when there's a really great deal out there, they'll call me and said, "Hey, I wanted to call you about this first. We've got that's 70% off of what it normally is." So yeah, relationships are huge.
Yeah. Speaking of vendors, I'm sure you got affected by COVID too, and we're 4 years later. Is all things well now?
What's COVID?
Okay.
We didn't, and that was another thing you talk about, surprises in your business.
Yeah. Your inventory just you were able to get product, no problem.
Yeah, we were, and again, a lot of it's how we buy. But I remember the first day. This is the only time I have not complied with the law. There were 2 police officers. And I think there was that particular time when everybody was running around like a chicken with their head cut off.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what was happening. But 2 MPD officers came in and said, "You're not an essential business. You have to close." And I said, "I am an essential business. I'm declaring myself an essential business. We do government work. We do state work. We do hospitals. We do nursing homes. Are you telling me they don't have to have floor, that maybe you know something I don't?" And I got on the phone right there and called the CDC. And the guy at the CDC says, "You do not have to close. I don't know what they're talking about. And so we never closed.
Yeah.
We literally, in talking with Robert and Bobby and Drew and all all the people in the flooring industry, their business continued to thrive because what happened was everybody went home. And if you're sitting around your house and that project of flooring that you were saying, I'm going to get done, and you look over there and say, ugh, if I have to sit here every day, I'm doing this floor.
I had forgotten about that, about how just the home improvement business just
It
skyrocketed.
really did.
Yeah.
And the other thing that happened is all the churches and offices sent everybody home. And so the churches and the offices were saying, well, why we don't have a congregation, why we don't have an office full of people, let's go ahead and get the flooring done.
Yeah.
So we were doing all the churches and all the offices. So yeah, our business really went through the roof during COVID and has never, and I think, you know what, I really feel like a good business plan can overcome a bad economy.
Yeah.
I
I
know,
100% agree
yeah,
with that.
I really believe that an economy is important, but everybody who bases their business on an economy probably shouldn't be in business.
It's funny you bring that up because there was, I'm in the real estate world and
Yeah.
everyone's comparing, the sky may be falling, a housing crash is right around the corner. And so, business owner that I am, I started pulling numbers from 2009, 10, 11, 12, right?
Right.
Top agents were still producing just as much then as they are right now, and
Right.
this is the best time ever to be in real estate.
Right.
And I
Well,
think
and
it's just because that 80-20 rule or whatever you call it, the people that are going to succeed, they're going to succeed no matter
right.
what. So,
Well, and the thing about it is we've learned that when the residential business is down, the commercial business is up. When the builder business is down, the weekend warrior business is up. So, we have done a really good job at diversifying our business. We deal with Main Street commercial, large commercial. As I told you, we just opened up a contract commercial division through our store. We do the weekend warrior. We deal with decorators. We deal with architects. If it goes on the floor, we do it. We also do granite, quartz, and marble countertops that add on to that. We also do blinds, shades, shutters, and roller shades. So when and again, I'm looking at these numbers. When one area drops down, another one will move up. So, barring a zombie apocalypse, which then I could sell people carpet to roll around their arms so they don't get bitten. I've already
yeah,
thought about it.
yeah. You've got it in the plan for 25, right? Yeah,
Whacking people with a piece of hardwood.
yeah. No kidding.
So yeah, I really think that a good business plan can overcome a bad economy.
Yeah, and I think full circle for me, just talking through that and understanding more about your business, if you're buying it by the truckloads and the container loads, it doesn't matter if you can't get it for a month. You're already stocked, ready to go.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And we still do the special order. We're a authorized Mohawk dealer, authorized shawl dealer. We sell engineered floors. We sell all the major brands of hardwood, Bruce, Homer Wood, BPI. We've got some really great brands that we can special order if you have something that you're really specialty looking for that we don't have in stock. So not only are we a stocking dealer with hundreds of thousands of square feet in stock, ready for your Homer business today,
I like it. Yeah.
but we have the other things that we buy direct from the manufacturer. So there's no middleman. You're not buying it from a supplier. We can get it in a couple days and have you on the schedule for install in no time.
That's awesome. What made you want to go open up a commercial sector of your business? Did you just see a need for it?
Well, I think it was a natural progression to go there. We do a lot of commercial work. I've got a lot of friends who work in the city and state, and they're like, hey, we really want you guys to bid this job. And I was like, we don't do contract commercial because contract commercial is a different monster. You have to have somebody who knows how to do the takeoffs and how to do the submittals and all that stuff. And Steve Schroeder, he was in commercial flooring for many years with McAdams Commercial. Then he was with Bonnet's Commercial, managed them for many years. And then he actually started his own business, SQ Contracting, that he did a lot of commercial flooring. So the position I had him in, again, we grow positions in the company. And so my son that runs the operations is growing into his position, and we're going to get him in more of the contract commercial. And he's ready to do it. He loves it. It's something that he really enjoys doing. We've got a great, our building started out as just the front part, and Dick rented the back part to a cheerleading school, which was great because we drove every mom that needed flooring back and forth in front of our store. So our target customer was dropping their children off every day. So that was good.
It was
but
planned. Yeah.
it came to the point to where I told Dick, I said, you can't rent that to them next year. We need that space. And now we've grown out of that space, and we've got about 25,000 square feet, and I probably need about 25,000 more.
So are there plans to add on, or,
We're going to try to be as creative and do the best as we can, but at some point I definitely think we're going to have to buy more property. And at one time I was thinking about, and this could still be a possibility, opening up in Auburn, Opelika, Dothan, Twin Cities down there. But one thing that Dick instilled in me is like, make sure you have exactly what you're doing here, and maybe you can serve the customer better by just doing this with the same numbers that you wouldn't please the customer in 3 locations.
Yes.
So you do more, make less, don't have as good a service as you could do in 1 location. So we're really just trying to focus on, and of course we do work in Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, all over the state of Alabama. Definitely majority of our work is throughout the river region. But we're just trying to be the best that we can be here before we go and try to put on a bigger pair of boots.
I like it. And you do a lot of stuff for, I've seen pictures of like the governor's mansion and things like that. How'd you get into that?
I've done work for every governor except for Governor Bentley. I got a really cool story I can
Let's hear it.
tell.
Yeah.
I actually just got a letter yesterday from Kay Ivey for work that we did at the mansion for some sisal rugs for their Christmas stuff, which is beautiful. If you get to go to the mansion and look at it, the mansion is gorgeous. And I'll tell you that story when we get. I don't know if I need to tell that story live. It's amazing.
We'll go get one of those cigars you were talking about earlier. Maybe a glass of whiskey.
Got some in the truck.
Yeah, that's awesome. But getting into the state side of things, as far as working with the city, did that just come naturally? They reach out to you, or did you build that relationship?
Again, relationships I had built with decorators. Jimmy Sellers is a world-renowned decorator. He does work all over, and he's done work for many of the governors. And I think the first governor we worked for was Fob and Bobby James, and they were just a lot of fun to work with. And I actually, there was one time when Miss Patsy Riley had called me. She said, "Hey, I need you to come out and measure for some rugs in our personal quarters upstairs. We want some seagrass rugs." And I said, "Yes, ma'am. What time do you want me to be out there?" She said, "Just go out there. You know how to get up the elevator and, measure what needs to be measured." So I went out there, and the guy who was running the mansion at the time, he says, "Do you have an appointment?" I said, "Well, no, she just told me to come out." He said, "You can't do that. You cannot do that." He says, "You stay right here." And anyways, he called Miss Patsy, and she says, "There's somebody here who does not have an appointment." She says, "Well, tell them that they can't be here." And then she looked over and saw it was me. She says, "Oh, that's Jeff." She says, "Jeff, go do what you need to do." And so, yeah, we've been able to work with Bob and Bobby James and Patsy and Bob Riley and every other governor except for, like I said, Bentley.
Is there a reason why not with Bentley? Just opportunity never happened.
Too busy playing spin the bottle. No, I don't know.
We'll keep the.
I don't know. No, that was.
We'll leave it a mystery. How
exactly.
about that?
He didn't need any flooring.
Yeah, I got it. Now you do, because you were mentioning earlier. I mean, you do tile, countertops, blinds, all that stuff. What made you want to diversify outside of flooring?
Well, you're always, or at least I'm always looking for ways to increase our business without changing our customer base. And so I would see decorators and builders and architects that would come in and they'd say, "Okay, well, we need to get countertops. Where should I go for that? Or we need to get blinds. Where do I go for that? And so usually when people are doing a project, they're going to redo the blinds. They're going to redo the countertops. They're going to redo the floors. They're going to redo the carpet in the bedrooms. And so we're like, wow, we're missing the boat on that. And so we really need to, pick up and go after that business. And we did.
Yeah.
So
Was it easy to incorporate all of those different products and services?
there's definitely a learning curve. Again, we're creatures of habit. And so I think that when you add something on, it's natural for people to say, I don't want to sell that. That's, not my thing, or I'm not, that's too difficult or too foreign. But it becomes part of it, and you learn and you grow what you do and you learn it better. And so, yeah, I think it was something we had to do to grow that additional business.
I think that's pretty smart, not reaching for new customers, is trying to serve the
Yeah.
ones you have more,
Yeah. And we have that was a one thing that your advertising is really important for. I realized at one time I was looking at our demographic, and we keep up with our customers that come in, Caucasian, Black, Asian, Hispanic, Indian. And I remember my store manager, Jonathan, he looked at me and said, I don't want to do this. This is racist. And I'm like, racist? How so? And he's like, well, we're keeping up with who's who. I said, why do you think we do that, Jonathan? And he said, well, he says, I don't know. We do it so we can advertise in the right places. Again, people are creatures of habit. And I was looking at our demographics and I was noticing that we didn't have what I felt like was the right amount of black customers. And I wanted to increase the black customer that we were reaching. I wanted to reach that customer and say, hey, we want your business. Your business is important to us. We want to serve you.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were probably 21% Black American as our demographic of sales. And now we're sitting at about 48% because I talked to Don about it. Don said, let me look at the advertising, where we're advertising, how we're advertising, and let's make the change. And instead of saying, oh, that's taboo, I can't talk about that, I said, no, I want to serve those customers.
Yeah.
Those are, people that have the, right to flooring just like anybody else. And I want to advertise to those customers. And we did, and we've got our numbers considerably higher.
That's awesome. Is advertising and marketing something that you've always done from the beginning, or did you have to, like, as your business increased, you're like, I'm going to advertise more?
Well, I think that's a common mistake that people make in business is they look at business like, well, I'm doing really good this year, so I don't need to advertise. Yeah. Or, the business is kind of slow this year, so I'm going to cut back on advertising. I set a budget every year. The national average in flooring is 5%. I decide where I'm going to be in that percentage, either more or less, and I advertise based on my budget. So whatever my budget is, that's what I'm advertising. And we're going to go down that road. Now, budgets are made to be changed.
Yeah.
So if we get, through the first quarter and say, wow, we're really not spending the money I think we should be spending, we can bump that budget up. If we're spending too much in this area, we can reposition. And again, Don's always been amazing about really helping us move that budget and change that budget to get us where we need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Is marketing and advertising something you've always done from the beginning, even as like in sales and things? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, because for me, I guess why I'm so inquisitive on that is because for me, it was always kind of sweat equity or what have you. It's like, I'm just going to go have more conversations. And just recently, over the past couple of years, I've been pushing the marketing and advertising. I discounted that too much.
Right.
And so,
well, and we have a great opportunity now. When I was in sales to begin with, what I was marketing with was myself.
Yeah.
That I would, really listen to that customer, engage that customer, get to know that customer. That was my ability to market then. And now we have Facebook, when I would always carry cards around with me. And if I was at the line in the grocery store, I would turn around and start talking to somebody and I'd give them my card. I'd say, hey, I'm Jeff Mallinson. I'm a sales associate at Georgia Floors Direct. If you ever need flooring, let me know. I would drive down the road, and if I saw a pile of wet carpet on the side of the road, I would stop them and go knock on the door and say, "Hey, I see you got some carpet that needs to be replaced. Here, give me a call. Let me know if I can help you." So that was the way I would market as a salesperson. But now we have Facebook.
Yeah.
Now we have Instagram. Now we
Yeah.
have all these social media platforms that you can put your face out there and reach thousands and thousands of people with just a click of a button. So there's a lot of opportunity there that I think goes missed because people, they're posting the cute puppy or the cool car or something like
The
that.
cool vacation. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's all great and good, but at the same time, we've one huge part of our advertising, and I remember this is another part where I had to kind of stand up and speak my mind to Don and Dick because Don is 72, Dick will be 89 in March, and so they're in a different time where, TV advertising, newspaper advertising, radio advertising, which by the way, all three of those work and they work amazingly. But as I saw social media, I would tell Dick, "Hey, I want to spend some money on social media." "Well, can't we start a Facebook of our own? We don't have to pay for that." And so I kind of, yeah, we can start, but we would try to do that. And we weren't really successful doing it on our own until we got to the point where I said, "Hey, we really need to invest in a company that will advertise our Facebook for us, help us build that." And of course, Don jumped right on with me because Don had been seeing it in his advertising. Dick was still a little hesitant, but now that's one of our largest platforms for advertising is social media.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for it.
I think social media also is with TV, radio, and commercials, and you get a little bit of radio, right? But it allows people to know you and who you are, your values, and you can portray that easier through social media than
Right.
just on a 30-second commercial because people, I think, like to watch that story.
Yeah.
That.
And there's one thing I've learned is being able to not just get them to click on, but to watch through. You've got to have, think about all the things you have to compete with out there in social media. So if you put something on there, it's got to be something that's worth their time to watch that.
Yes.
And so, we're trying to do things like we're actually got a social media video, and I won't tell too much, but we've got, what I'll do is I'll tell you about one we did. We had a Mohawk Smart Strand carpet, and we did a 24-hour red wine test on it.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
it's a great video because even me, I've been in the flooring industry for 32 years, and every time I watch it, I'm like, that's amazing. And we put a regular stain-resistant carpet in red wine for 24 hours, and then we put a Mohawk Smart Strand in red wine for 24 hours. We took them out. When I just blotted the Mohawk Smart Strand off, it completely went away. So that's the kind of thing people are going to look at and be like, wow,
Yeah.
So we've got one coming up that we're going to do that's pretty interesting and lengthy
cool.
and partnering with another company here in town.
Yeah, speaking of carpet, are people moving towards or away from carpet? Like, because for me and a lot of clients that I work with when I'm helping them buy and sell homes is
Right.
they want all hard surface flooring.
Right. Well, and I think most people, a lot of people are moving to, I've got all hard, I don't have any carpet in my house.
Yeah.
I take that back. I have it in the master bedroom closet.
You're like me then. I want to wake up to carpet.
Yeah, but we've got the master bedroom, not the master bedroom, there's hardwood in the master bedroom, but Georgia Floors Direct also does custom area rugs. And so a lot of people will come in and do a seagrass, sisal, wool area rug in the rooms that they have hardwood in, and then come in and get a pattern or print bound rug to go on top of it. We do a lot of houses. I think they're still all very different. Some people want carpet in the bedrooms, resilient or hard surface in the common areas. They want in the upstairs area, if there's a second floor, they may want carpet because of the noise absorption. But even now, for people who want hardwood, we've got this wonderful pad that blocks like 60% of the sound from the second floor that you can put down before you nail or glue your hardwood down. So there's all kinds of industry advances and things that are happening to to really allow people to get exactly what they want in their home.
Are you seeing any new trends as far as where, new things coming out that's people are just going crazy over?
Well, I think the latest one is, and it's been around for a little bit, is the luxury vinyl plank. And any product that comes out, and that's what we call the waterproof floor. Any floor that comes out, it's got to work out the bugs, for a little while. And I think when luxury vinyl plank very first came out, is it had a negative thought to it because it's vinyl. People, I don't want vinyl, I want real hardwood. But then they would say, hey, I want something waterproof, I want something super durable. But when luxury vinyl plank very first came out, there were multiple patterns in it where when you laid it all down, it really didn't look that great. It didn't look like a beautiful hardwood floor because nothing in a hardwood floor is the same.
Yeah.
Every knot is different. Every grain is different. You have oak, you have hickory, you have birch, you have mahogany, pecan, you have all these different types. And now they have basically been able to do that with technology with the luxury vinyl plank. And so when you see a luxury vinyl plank floor, you don't see the pattern repeat.
Yeah.
You can get the hickory look, the oak look, the birch, the maple. You can get the different colors. You can get the herringbone pattern. So they again, I think that's really the thing right now because people, we live in our homes. Everything we do, we eat, we socialize, we have our pets. I have people that come in and say, "Hey, I've got 5 dogs. I need something that will hold up to 5 dogs." The luxury vinyl plank is one that really checks a lot of those boxes. Now, of course, we do a lot of high-end homes too that people want to get hardwood, and we've got that hardwood all the way from the 3/4 inch solid, reclaimed, to the antique heart pine, wide plank, narrow plank, long plank.
What's your thoughts on the engineered hardwood floors?
Well, I heard a guy that did the TV, the remodel shows, and he said, I never, ever, ever use engineered wood floors. In his region, no. In the region we live in a very humid region. Engineered floors are great. Engineered floors actually have more structural stability than solid wood floors do.
Really?
Yeah. And you can get them with different wear layers. You can get engineered wood floors with a 3 and 4 millimeter wear layer that can be sanded and refinished just like a solid wood is. Just because it's 3/4 inch thick doesn't mean you can sand 3/4. You can sand down to about 1/8 of an inch above that tongue and groove. And if you get a 4 millimeter or a 3 millimeter wear layer engineered wood floor, you can do the same. They have the different types of engineered wood floor. They have a slice and then they have a rotary peel. The rotary peel is usually going to be your 1 millimeter and your 2 millimeter wear layers, and they're going to hold up a long time. They have a lifetime structural warranty, a 25 to a 50-year finish warranty, and most of these floors have a aluminum oxide or that type of finish that's going to be a very durable finish. So a lot of times these floors are going to hold up.
What's the is the hardwood floors, is that still a big staple since you started in the flooring industry until now?
It is, and I think that's just a classic. I mean, it was neat because I was talking with Dick one time, and I would notice I would go into these houses that were built prior to 1963, and I would say, anytime we pull up carpet in these old houses, there's hardwood floors everywhere. I don't know why they quit doing it. He's like, I can tell you exactly what happened. He said, 1963, they were able to approve carpet as an option that went into your home. He said before that, you could only put down the 3/4 inch hardwood, what we call the jumble tile, which is the little terracotta tiles that are all broken up, or the slate tile. He said, so you'd go into a house and that's what would be everywhere. If somebody wanted carpet, they would have to come in after the fact and put the carpet down over the hardwood floors.
Huh.
So we go in to redo a house and we'll pull up carpet and there's a beautiful 3/4 inch hardwood floor down. But anyway, I think hardwood flooring has always been just a classic
Yeah.
look. It's beautiful. It brings warmth to the room. You can actually make a room look larger and warmer at the same time.
Yeah, that's cool. Going back to your business, is there any products that, because you offer a wide range of products, but also services. Is
Right.
there anyone that you tried to implement that didn't work out,
Uh,
or is it just success story after success story?
well, no, cabinets. We were going to go into the cabinet business at one time. And again, that was just my entrepreneurial. We met with some people out of Atlanta, Georgia that were distributors. And I realized really quickly that cabinets is a totally different monster. And maybe one day, but I want to do what we're best at.
Yeah.
We're best at flooring, and the others are things that we do, and we're good at them. But we're not going to really veer from flooring. Flooring is what we do. We don't sell nuts, bolts, ropes, toilets.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and that's what we tell people that come from the box store. I spend a lot of money at Home Depot, but if I'm making a big purchase, like, you know, I'm going to be putting all new windows in my house, and it's not a punch against Home Depot, but I'm not going to Home Depot to buy the windows. I'm going to buy from a local professional company here in town that's what they do. They're a
Yeah.
window company. When I deal with the salesperson, you know, we are in McGee Estates, and I want the wood windows that look like the windows that I'm taking out. I actually want them to function though. And so, you know, I think you get these big box stores who they do everything under one roof,
Yeah.
but they don't do everything well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to be able to go shop the competition. I can't do that anymore because everybody knows me. But I remember one time I was going to shop the competition, and the guy was talking to me, and he would look at his watch, and he'd look back at me, and he'd look around a little bit, and he'd look at his watch. And I'm like, do you need to be somewhere? He says, well, I'm on break. He says, so I'm going to get somebody else to come help you. And I'm sorry. I'm like, no, that's great. Keep
Do us
up
both a favor.
Keep
Yeah.
up the good work. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's what you're going to get when you come to us. There's not going to be, hey, I got to run and take lunch, or, you know, I got to do something else. You are our priority. And I send my guys every year to furthering education so we know the new processes in the industry. We know the new adhesives. We know the new flooring patch. We know the new systems. We know the pitfalls. We're constantly trying to educate ourselves so we do a better job for the customer.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that we'll stay on the cabinet thing that didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else? What's your biggest lesson learned through going through this journey in the flooring industry?
Well, you know, that's one thing that allowed me to get started in property investing.
Yeah.
I actually went to Bo Goodson School of Real Estate and realized that realtors work way too hard. You know, they think, oh, you get 6%. No, you get 3% that you've got to split with your broker. And you know, they get calls all hours of the night, all kinds of crazy calls. My brother is a broker realtor, Keller Williams Company out of Clanton, Alabama. My mother was a broker realtor for years. My sister was in real estate. My wife was in real estate for a little while. I took my real estate course and said, you know what? I'm going to keep on being a property investor, and
Yes.
I don't want my real estate license. But yeah, that's what allowed me to get into the property investment, is because I was always in homes. I was doing remodels. I was doing investment properties. I was doing new construction builds. I was doing existing homes. And I love there's not a home I don't love going into. I love going into these old houses over in Capitol Heights and looking at the way they're built. And of course, I'm very plugged in. Big part of it was being in with the home builders. I've been plugged in with the Greater Montgomery Home Builders and the Alabama Home Builders for years and years and years. And by the way, they do an amazing job for our state and for our city. The Montgomery Home Builders, what they do, the girls over there are absolutely amazing professionals that really help us. And then our Montgomery Board of Realtors and the real estate committee here in town, they're amazing. But just being around that so much, I, you know, wanted to get into doing homes because I enjoy that. I can sit down on HGTV and watch, you know, Flip My House or.
And it's just like that, right? Real life is just like that.
Yeah, well, we did one day when I remember we bought a house over in what was it? No, it was Hillwood. It was in Hillwood on Croom, And I remember looking at the brick wall, and the brick wall was saturated wet, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, we went in and looked in the backs of the cabinets, and the backs of the cabinets were rippled. Well, there had been a leak in that wall for probably 5 years. The whole entire wall was rotted inside, so we had to tear all those cabinets out, rebuild, treat it for mold, rebuild the whole thing.
You had that in the budget, right, when you bought it? Just like on HGTV.
The house turned out great. As a matter of fact, the people that bought it, I'm still in touch with them on a regular basis, and they tell me every day, we love the house you did. And I have a lot of people who saw the house. It's like, you guys did an amazing job. But I love housing. I love the industry we're in. It's what I've chosen as my main squeeze. And sometimes it engulfs everything, but I love doing it.
Yeah. Going, looking back as far as all the things you've accomplished, would you do anything different?
I would invest in Amazon in 1999.
Yeah.
When it was about 8 cents a share, I would buy about $100,000 in stock in Amazon.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd have given you this interview or not.
For sure. Yeah.
No, but I don't think I would have. I think I've enjoyed the journey. I've enjoyed learning what I've learned, and enjoy when I learned it.
Yeah. What is your biggest lesson learned?
Well, I think my biggest lesson learned is that things are never as bad as you think they are. When you think things are bad and things are just going to hell in a handbasket, they're never as bad as you think they are. But on the flip side of that coin, they're never as good as you think they are. By the time they're good, they've already started to go bad again. And I think that's keeps you here.
Keeps you grounded.
Instead of keeping you way up high or way down low. Because I think so many people are moved by every little thing that happens. Like, oh, this bad thing happened, so they're down in the dumps. This good thing happened, so I'm on the mountaintop. I think you look at those and you roll with the punches. You block and tackle every day, and you get up the next day and you do it again. And if you do those things.
Yeah, I like that a lot because I feel like that's what keeps you grounded and level throughout everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to ride the waves if you,
Emotions lie to you.
Yeah.
Emotions will tell you, hey, you feel this way, when really, feelings come and go. But the test of time is going to be, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
If you know how to react to it. Yeah.
What keeps you going?
Just my family. I've got 4 grandkids. I've got 3 amazing sons. I have a desire. My guys at the store.
Yeah.
I have an amazing desire to really get them where they want to be in life. And I learned a long time ago that if I help other people get where they want to be, I'll naturally arrive at my destination.
Giver's gain.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
It is. And if you make a life of doing that, you'll naturally get where you want to be.
I want to ask you before we get off some 4 questions I ask everyone that comes on here.
Okay.
And we may have answered these some, but what's your favorite book?
Andy Andrews, The Traveler's Gift.
Okay.
That book is, I read a lot of books. I'm reading one right now called The Psychology of Money that I really enjoy.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
It's a good one. You'll really
because
like that.
it makes you understand, you treat money how you think about money.
Yes.
But anyways, Andy Andrews, The Traveler's Gift by far.
Gotcha. And The One Thing by Gary Keller. I read that one next.
Okay.
I'm telling
All
you, you'll like that a lot. And that may be something you already know, but I like the lifestyle book on that. Next question is, if you could have dinner with anyone, past, present, or future, who would it be?
I would have to say, my dad. I lost my dad unexpectedly to a surgery. And the man I used to think knew so little, I've found out over the years knows so much. I'd love to have dinner with Donald Trump too.
I hear you.
But that may be in the works right now as we speak. But anyway, my dad, for sure.
That's awesome. What's your favorite food?
Lasagna.
Lasagna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Pasta guy.
Yep.
All right. And we talked
Can't
about.
you tell I'm a pasta guy?
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm polite. Yeah. So we got how you did it, And we've talked a little bit about your why, but what is your why and how has it changed from when you started to where you are now?
Well, my why. Well, of course, my why, I think what all of our why is to provide for our families when we start. But my why has changed is I want to be the best at what I do.
Yeah.
I realize that we're put here not for our own enjoyment, but to serve others. And the scripture said there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And I think we're supposed to serve our brother. And that applies to everybody. If not just to people that look like you do in the mirror, people that look different than you. I want to be everything God intended me to be, and I fall short on that daily. But that's the amazing thing about the blood of Christ is I can get up every morning and say, "Hey, I'm going to go conquer the world for you," and I can go home every night and say, "God, I failed again." And that's we keep scripture on the board at the store. And it's funny because people are like, "Oh, cool, you put scripture out here for the customer." And I'm like, "That's not for you." I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But when we start acting like we're going to act,
Yeah.
we can turn around and remind ourselves. And, that's, I just want to be a good steward of my life. I want to live well and I want to die well. I want to, when I stand before God, for him to say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant."
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Jeff, I greatly appreciate it,
Brother,
and
thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it,
Hey,
man.
this has been fun. Like I said, my ninth grade social studies teacher, Willie Ed Farish, I'm sorry, told me he yelled it when he said, "You're either going to be a politician, a lawyer, or a salesman." I love talking to people. I love talking to you. You have so many great ideas, and I want to listen to some of your other podcasts you're doing because you're a great guy,
I
interesting
appreciate
guy,
that.
and I appreciate you.
Awesome.
Really do.
We'll end it there, man.
All right, brother.
Until next
Appreciate
time.
it. Yeah.